Hi guys, I'm gonna give a quick discussion of what talents and what legendaries I think will be used in support of the first ones, which is the raid, as well as Mythic Plus. I'll cover Mythic Plus quickly. Basically, through my testing, it really is a Season 1 plus Season 2 equals Season 3. Best legendary Season 1 was Circle of Life Death, or alternatively Apex Predator. And Season 2, the best was the Knife A legendary. And Season 3, you just combine the two. Uh, I haven't really worked out what the interaction is with the affix. Boosted haste does seem like it will favor Primal Wrath better though. Circle of Life and Death over Apex Predator, as you will not need to be capped with GCDs. So, moving on to the raid, Vigilant Guardian. This one's pretty straightforward. You're running basically an AoE build. You still want to take Sabertooth because you need to deal boss damage in the last phase. And the way you're going to deal the most damage is probably going to be with Circle of Life and Death. You can convert this to a funnel build if you want to funnel into the boss by using Apex Predator. That's definitely an option. Especially on Mythic, where the boss is active from the very beginning. You can use Apex Predator and just keep funneling the boss. But if you want to kill everything quickly and kill it safely, you probably just take Circle of Life and Death. Scarlex is a pure single target, and if you watch some of my other videos, I think the single target build for this tier will likely be Frenzy Band. Artificer, you will have different roles. You can either be a single target man, and you won't be part of the kill squads that go across and do big AoE. If you are part of that kill squad, you can change up your build a little bit. You still probably will not take Primal Wrath because a lot of that ad spawns are burst based. So, for example, when you go to the side platforms, you just want to pop your 4-set Berserk, hit your Brutal Slash 3 times, and then the mobs have to be dead. And if you're on the main platform, there is not really much point in taking Primal Wrath because the ads will die quite quickly. It is really a single target encounter, apart from those small burst windows. Dosagni is a 1.5 target fight. Most of the time, you just want to kill the boss, and it is one of the earlier bosses in the raid, so the DPS check isn't that intense. I think you definitely do just take a pure single target build there. You don't want to take draft a deep focus though, because you do need to dot up the other ads using rake or otherwise. If you've watched my Mythic PTR testing, you will probably see that I hold Berserk for ad spawns so that your 4-set does deal double damage. Prototype Pantheon is an interesting one because for half the fight, it is a 2-target cleave. It's a 2-target cleave followed by another 2-target cleave followed by a 4-target cleave. The reason I've opted for Primal Wrath here is because the last phase is actually the most important, and Primal Wrath Circle in my testing did significantly better at 4-target sustained than any other legendary combo. There is also, if you're interested in 2-target cleave, which is Prototype Pantheon as well as Lords of Dread, if you run Primal Wrath and you're very on top of your game, you know exactly when to cast Primal Wrath over Manual Rip. It can actually be competitive in 2-target cleave with Primal Wrath plus Circle versus Brutal Slash. Most people would expect that Brutal Slash is better than Primal Wrath, but you can get very high uptimes of Tiger Fury, which will be a significantly larger bonus with 278 conduits. And having those rolling very strong rips using a combination of Primal Wrath and rip on 2 targets can actually get you very competitive or even better DPS than Brutal Slash in my testing. But that is under optimal conditions and not necessarily dealing with mechanics as well. Behuvim, the Principal Architect. This encounter in Mythic testing, there are a couple of strategies. The strategy I think we'll probably land on is that you'll burn down 2 ads. You always leave the AoE ads up, which can be deleted with Berserk. So it kind of works this way. You probably want Frenzy Band. The reason you want Frenzy Band is because you will not necessarily have 100% uptime on the boss, and you do need your Berserk to be up to blow it up on the AoE ads. So you run, it's basically a 2-minute 10, 2-minute 20 cycle. You DPS the boss, then you run off and kill a single target ad, probably saving Convoke for that. Then 2 sets of ads, one's an AoE set and one is something else. Those 2 groups of ads will group on the boss, you hit Berserk, then you just start funneling bites into the boss and repeat. So I think Frenzy Band is probably okay with that because you're still going to be hitting Shred and you do want boss damage. An alternative for this might actually be the Energy Ring. I don't think Circle plays a part in any way because you're not running Primal Wrath, and you probably shouldn't be running Primal Wrath. I think Brittle Slash is definitely the play here. So there aren't really any better contenders. So you could either run Frenzy Brand or you can run the Energy Ring, which is also quite good for that small section where you do require extra energy to hit multiple ads. I think though, if you are going to be crafting a 3rd legendary or high level during prog, you probably don't want to do that. You probably just want to have 2 maxed out legendaries, which is very likely going to be Frenzy Banded Circle or Frenzy Banded Apex. Moving along to Hellandres. Hellandres is a single target encounter as well with high movement. This is actually one of the encounters where you can take Tiger Stash rather than Wild Charge. You can also take Resto Affinity rather than Balance Affinity. But I think Balance Affinity is quite good because there are some sections of the fight where you want to run up ahead of the boss for safety, and then you can just start Moonkin Weaving. So with Hellandres, you do periodically have to switch and kill an ad that gets exposed. But I think that it's quite limited what you need to do to that mob. Because of the mixed uptime, I think you definitely want Frenzy Band to ensure you have that 2-minute Berserk. Otherwise, your other options are, again, possibly Apex Predator, which is going to be a bit of a downgrade, because you are unlikely to set up a full rip on that second target. So really, you're just getting single target Apex Predator procs, or the Energy Ring Cat Curio. I think Frenzy Band is probably the play here. Moving on to Anduin Rin. Anduin Rin was one of the harder bosses on Heroic, and I'm releasing this video before Mythic testing. So it looks like, based on the Dungeon Journal, during the main phase, you're going to be dealing with Anduin, and then sometimes you'll be sent downstairs. If you do get sent downstairs to the other realm, you'll have to fight a couple of ads. Those ads last long enough for you to cast Primal Wrath on, and you can funnel using Apex Predator to bind. Then there's 2 intermissions where Anduin will take additional damage by DPSing another mob, and you actually can set up a Primal Wrath and set up a bite chain into the Lich King or Izil's armor. On Mythic difficulty, when people get sent into the Anduin realm to kill ads, they actually need to be broken out as well. When they are broken out, then you are able. When those people get sent down, they leave a shadowy corpse. You need to AoE those shadowy corpses to free the people from the downstairs realm. So I think there is an opportunity for funnel there as well. That's why I think for this fight, even though I consider Circle to be the better AoE legendary, I think Apex Predator will have its place here in Anduin. Lords of Dread. This is a interesting one as well. This one isn't on PTR, but it appears to be 2-target cleave. So on 2-target cleave, I think running Circle is the most consistent legendary that you're going to be able to get. In addition to that, Lords of Dread do actually take 100% additional AoE damage when Mal'Ganis phases, which is probably where you want to save Berserk for, if that counts as an AoE ability. If you run Brittle Slash and Circle of Death, you can get extremely high uptimes on Tiger's Fury rips and keep them extended quite well. Okay, moving on to Rygalon. Hopefully I spelled that correctly. Rygalon appears to be a single target boss, so you just run single target legendary. And based on the dungeon journal for the jailer, that also appears to be single target. Periodically in the last phase, it appears there is a mob that you want to kill, but it only appears to be one mob, so you could just run a single target setup for that. So I think that's, based on my testing, this is what seems to be good to run. Obviously, as we learn more about the last 3 encounters and even some of the mythic encounters, we'll glean more what's possible. I think based on when the legendary actually unlocks, you may actually just be running only a single legendary until you hit the back 3. So, and based on tuning as well, I don't think you necessarily require double legendary to kill first 7 bosses. So that's it for now, and I hope you enjoyed this video and my discussion of my thoughts on legendaries.